Lecture number 9. Obligatory conformity assurance plan of the lecture. Mandatory confirmation of compliance. Declaration of conformity. Mandatory certification. The circulation mark in the market. Obligatory conformity assurance. In contrast to the voluntary confirmation of conformity of the object of obligatory acknowledgement of conformity can only be products. Mandatory confirmation of compliance is carried out only in cases established by the relevant technical regulations, and only for compliance with the requirements of the technical regulations. Only products that are put into circulation on the territory of the Republic of Kazakhstan can be subject to mandatory conformity assessment. Voluntary confirmation of conformity has one of the form, voluntary certification. Mandatory confirmation of conformity has two forms: acceptance of the declaration of conformity, and mandatory certification. Table 1. Distinctive feature for mandatory confirmation of compliance. Confirmation form: applicant, declaration of conformity, manufacturer, supplier, performer. Obligatory certification, manufacturer, supplier, performer. Second type is Certificate of Compliance, Declaration of Conformity, and the obligatory certification is Certificate of Conformity. The next type is Consumer Information. Declaration of Conformity of consumer information is information about the registered product, declaration or accompanying documentation, marking with the conformity mark. Obligatory certification of this form is a copy of Certificate of Conformity, information about the Certificate of Conformity, marking with a conformity mark indicating the code of certification body. Mandatory certification should be included in the technical regulations only in justified cases. At the same time, it is recommended to use one of the following general criteria for its application. The first quotation is used to ensure the necessary protection of the market from dangerous products in case where the state of a certain sector of the domestic market doesn't cause confidence in the objectivity of the declaration of conformity by suppliers of this product, even with partial participation of a third party. The second quotation is used in cases where the certification rules in force in the country are subject to international agreements and operate in accordance with these agreements. For example, the system of certification of motor vehicles for compliance with the UNECE regulations, the system of certification of electrical equipment, IEC, and others. The third quotation is determined by case when the applicant is unable to accept a declaration of conformity without violating the law and technical regulations. This primarily applies to imported products, when foreign manufacturer has no representative of Kazakhstan or when the first party, primarily the seller, doesn't have its own evidence of conformity specified in the technical regulations. The application of the third quotation will allow to avoid the situation where center mark products may not be realized into circulation on the territory of Kazakhstan due to the lack of an stable producer of confirmation of conformity. For example, if there is no person performing the functions of a foreign manufacturer. Declaration of Conformity. Declaration of conformity is the highest priority form of mandatory confirmation of compliance. The first, acceptance of the declaration of conformity on the basis of their own evidence. The second, acceptance of the declaration of conformity on the basis of their own evidence obtained with the participation of the certification body and an accredited testing laboratory center hereinafter the third party. When declaring conformity, the applicant, based on their own evidence, independently forms evidentiary materials in order to confirm the conformity of products with the requirements of technical regulations. Technical documentation, Results of all research, tests, and the measurements and or the other documents that served as the basis for confirming the compliance of products with the requirements of technical regulations are used as evidence materials. The technical documentation must contain the main parameters and the characteristics of the product, as well as its description in order to assess the product's compliance with the requirements of the technical regulations. Description of product safety measures at one or more stages of design, including survey, production, construction, installation, commissioning, operation, storage, transportation, sale, and disposal. A list of documents in the file of standardization used in whole or in part included in the list of documents in the file of standardization, the result of which on a voluntary basis complies with technical regulations, and if you do not use these documents in standardization, description of the solution chosen for implementation of requirements of technical regulations. If the documents in the file of standardization included in the list of documents in the file of standardization, the application of which on a voluntary basis ensures compliance with the requirements of the technical regulations, where partly applied, the technical documentation indicated the applicable sections of these documents. Technical documentation may also contain a general description of the product, design, and technological documentation for the product, diagrams of components, assemblies, circuits, descriptions, and explanations necessary for understanding these schemes, as well as the result of design calculations, control, and other documents that serve as a reasoned basis for confirming the product's compliance with the requirements of technical regulations. Obligatory certification. Mandatory certification is a form of the mandatory conformity assessment. Mandatory certification is carried out by the certification body on the basis of an agreement with the applicant. Certification schemes used for certification of certain types of products are established by the relevant technical regulations. The conformity of products to the requirements of technical regulation is confirmed by a certificate of conformity issued to the applicant by the certification body. Administrative responsibility is provided for violation of the rules of mandatory certification. For example, a legal entity is fined for selling goods without a certificate of conformity, declaration of conformity that certified the safety of such goods for human life and health. A comparative description of the forms of conformity assessment in the form of mandatory and voluntary certification is presented in Table 2. Table 2. Comparative characteristics of mandatory and voluntary certification. Certification form. Main goals of the event. Obligatory, ensuring product safety. Voluntary, ensuring of competitiveness of the company's products, services. Advertising of products, services that meet not only safety requirements, but also requirements that ensure the quality of products or services. The basis for carrying out obligatory is legislative acts of Republic of Kazakhstan, voluntary at the initiative of legal entities or individuals on contractual terms between the applicant and the certification body. Objects. Obligatory is list of goods subject to mandatory certification approved by the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Voluntary is any object. The essence of the conformity assessment. Obligatory is assessment of compliance with the mandatory requirements stipulated by the relevant law introducing mandatory certification. Voluntary is assessment of the compliance with the applicant's requirements agreed with the certification body. For objects subject to mandatory certification, as a rule, assessment of compliance with the requirements that supplement the mandatory requirements. Regulatory framework, state standards, sanitary norms and rules, and the other documents that establish mandatory requirements for the quality of goods. It's all about obligatory of these regulatory frameworks. With voluntary is national standards, standards of organizations, voluntary certification systems, contract terms. Markup circulation on the market. It is used only in the system of mandatory confirmation of compliance. Products whose compliance with the requirements of technical regulations is confirmed in accordance with the procedure provided for this state law or market with the mark of circulation on the market. Market with the mark of circulation on the market is carried out by the applicant independently in any way convenient for him. Features of marking products with the mark of the circulation on the market are established by technical regulations. Products whose compliance with the requirements of technical regulations is not confirmed in accordance with the procedure established by the state law may not be marketed with the mark of circulation on the market. Recognition of results, confirmation of compliance. Countries that export products may need to ensure that these products meet the requirements of technical regulations that they have identified as necessary to ensure human health and safety. This requirement can significantly increase the cost of manufacturers of products in the importing country. As a result, manufacturers may refuse to supply products, and national manufacturers may find themselves in condition of limited competition, which will limit the level of technical progress and technology development in the importing country. Costs for manufacturer and the restrictions on the economic well-being of importing countries can be reduced and or eliminated if the country that a trading partner unilaterally accept the results of conformity assessment activities received by the competent authorities of the countries to which the products are delivered. This measure will reduce the volume of repeated testing and importantly will help reduce unnecessary barriers to trade. There are several mechanisms for the adoption of conformity assessment results. One of them is mutual recognition of conformity assessment procedure by countries. Such recognition can be expressed through the conclusion of relevant agreements, which in the ISO IEC Quite 2 are referred to as recognition agreement. Agreements based on the acceptance by one party of the results presented by the other party resulting from the application of one or more specific functional elements of the conformity assessment system. Examples of recognition agreements are test agreements, control agreements, and certification agreements. Recognition agreements can be adopted at national, regional, or international level. It can be unilateral, includes acceptance by one party of the result of the work of the other side. Bilateral involves the adoption by each party of the results of the mark of the other party, and the multilateral mutual acceptance of work results more than two sides of the agreements. For example, agreement on the circulation of products subject to mandatory conformity assessment. Confirmation is the customs territory of the customs union dated December 11, 2009. Agreement on mutual recognition of accreditation of certification bodies, conformity assessment confirmation, and testing laboratories, centers performing conformity assessment confirmation, work dated December 11, 2009. Regulation number 319 of June 18, 2010 on the procedure for importing products goods subject to mandatory conformity assessment or confirmation to the customs territory of the customs union. Unified list of products that are subject to mandatory requirements within the customs union approved by the decision of the customs union commission number 526 of January 28, 2011. Regulation on the procedure for applying standard schemes for assessing confirming compliance with the requirements of technical regulations of the Customs Union, approved by the decision of the Customs Union Commission number 621 of the April 7, 2011. In order to eliminate technical barriers in economic and trade relations between these CIS member states as well as to solve the problem of recognition of the conformity marks, An agreement was adopted in December on May 23, 2001 on the application of a single product access mark to the market of the CIS member states. The use of the single product access mark on the market of the CIS member states is possible if the following conditions are met. The market products must be produced, manufactured exclusively on the territory of member state of this agreement. The market products must be certified in the national certification system, conformity assessment system, of the state in which they are produced. Certificates of conformity for products must confirm that products meet the requirement of CIS interstate standards included in the product range market with a single sign of product access to the market of the CIS member states. Work on product certification should be carried out by certification bodies accredited in national systems for confirmation of conformity, authorized national certification bodies, accreditation of the states parties or their agreement. The list of such competent authorities is published by the Bureau of Standards (SCI). Products marked with a single sign of product access to the market of the CIS member states have the right to be sold on the territory of the states parties to the agreement without reissuing certificates of conformity issued in national certification system. Confirmation of conformity. Features of recognition of conformity assessment results in the CIS member states. The Republic of Kazakhstan has approved the rules for the recognition of the foreign certificates of conformity, marks of conformity, test reports, and other documents in the file of conformity assessment. Order number 119 of the Committee on Technical Regulation and the Metrology of the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Republic of Kazakhstan, dated April 22, 2005. The provisions of these rules, including it is provided that for carrying out of works on recognition of certificates of conformity of foreign countries, test reports and products, marks of conformity and other documents, authorized body generates that, constantly updates and provides all interested organizations, business and individuals, the list of states with which Kazakhstan has signed agreements on recognition of results of conformity assessment. Recognition of foreign documents or marks in the file of conformity assessment for imported products is carried out in the basis of the application of the importer applicant in the established form on a contractual basis by the conformity assessment bodies accredited in the state system of technical regulation of the Republic of Kazakhstan and having the declared type of product in their file of accreditation. Work on the recognition of documents and the marks issued in foreign conformity assessment systems for imported products that are subject to mandatory confirmation and intended for sale is carried out if it is accompanied by information in the state or Russian languages. The information should include product name, country and manufacturer, contractor, storage life, shelf life service, storage conditions, method of application, if the presence of this information is governed by the technical regulations. The applicant is responsible for the authenticity of the translation. The Kyrgyz Republic has developed and operates its own concept for recognizing the results of conformity assessment with the CIS member states and other foreign countries approved by the government of the Kyrgyz Republic. Resolution number 817 of November 28, 2006. Slide 13. The main objectives of the concept are implementation of quality management principles and the methods as at enterprises of the CIS member state and other foreign countries. The main objectives of the concept are implementation of quality management principles and the methods at enterprises of the CIS member states and the other foreign countries based on international standards ISO 9000 and 14000 and others, which are an important condition for ensuring effective operation in a market economy. Harmonization of rules, procedures in the pilot of accreditation of conformity assessment bodies and the testing measuring laboratories based on international standards and ensuring mutual recognition of the results of conformity assessment of products and quality systems, tests, measurements, as well as the result of hygienic, veterinary, phytosanitary regulation and the restoration of products, substance, and materials. The provisions of the concept also define that it is the basis for the development of intergovernmental, international, interdepartmental agreements. Agreements and other documents in the pilot of recognition of conformity assessment results with the CIS member states and the other foreign countries.